morning, everyone. This is Brooks Kubik and John Wood, and we're back for episode number 11 in the Dinosaur Radio Podcast. We did 10 episodes last year, and episode number 11 is actually episode number 1 from January 22. So count them whichever way you want. John, how are things going out in Michigan?
Pretty standard. Right now it's cold and overcast, but that's par for the course.
Sounds good. You have any snow on the ground?
No, but I think it's coming.
I wouldn't doubt it. There's a lot of snow pretty much everywhere. So we have no questions about snow skiing or ice skating, sledding or snow shoveling, but we do have a grip question. Should we start off the year with that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Here's one that I get quite often from people, and I bet you get it too. So here's an email I got from Hugo in Quebec, who probably has a lot of snow going on right now. And Hugo said, "Hello, Brooks. I'm one of your email subscribers, and I have a little question for you about grippers. I recently started to play around with some cheap grippers that I had lying around in my gym bag. I like it, but they're really for weaker people, I find, and they're pretty small. I am interested in the Captains of Crush model grippers, but I have absolutely no idea about the different degrees of strengths of the different models. You know, strength is determined in pounds. Which grippers should I start with? I'm a strong 35-year-old guy, and my grip strength and hands are pretty good, and I've got some decent forearms too. I have been doing various forearm grip stuff constantly for a while now. I like doing iso holds with the grippers. They've got grippers rated at 100 pounds, 140, 167.5, 195, and so forth. Thanks for your recommendations. I really like your PDFs and general strength information. Have a nice day, Hugo from Quebec." So, John, since you have done some legendary grip feats, I think you closed a number 3 gripper when you were, what, 15 or 16?
I was 15.
15, okay,
Yeah.
Okay. I thought this would be a perfect question for you to start the new year. So what's your response to Hugo?
It's actually a question I get pretty frequently, having a website devoted specifically to grip training. And I think for him, it makes sense. I mean, the same answer is going to apply to pretty much everybody, because grippers are not adjustable like a barbell or a dumbbell. You can't add or subtract weight. It makes sense to have several of the levels to train with, and you can do different things with the different levels depending on the resistance. So if you could do certain things with the lighter grippers that you can't do with the heavy grippers, and so on and so forth. So, and for his situation, I think I'd give him the same answer that I've been telling people for years, and that I'd say probably start out with the trainer, the 0.5, the number, and the number 1. 3 seems to be a good starting range, just because you can. It'd be like having 3 stones of different sizes, or 3 sandbags, or something like that, where they're not too far off in terms of their resistance, and then that'll allow you to do some of the different techniques, and you can add other grippers, stronger grippers, as you progress from there.
That's pretty much the same answer that I would give. And grippers are inexpensive. They don't take up much space. You can throw 3, 4, 5 of them in your gym bag and not really know that they're there. And to me, it doesn't make sense at all to buy just one gripper. You buy at least 3, if not 4 or 5, but 3 is a good number. And you do exercise routines where you've got 3 grippers in play. At the very least, you can use the lightest gripper that you have for your first set as a warm-up, do more reps. Then you do a heavier set with the second heaviest gripper that you have. Obviously, you're going to do fewer reps, but that's fine. And then you finish up with the heaviest gripper that you have, whatever that is. Again, you're not going to do as many reps as you do on the first two, but it all balances out. It's like having, it's like if someone said, well, what dumbbells should I have? If I want to buy a dumbbell, what dumbbell should I buy? Well, the answer is you buy adjustable dumbbells. But if those are for some reason not an option, the answer is you buy a couple, because you do some things with a lighter dumbbell and some things with a medium dumbbell and some things with a heavier dumbbell or a pair of dumbbells, or use kettlebells in the analogy, same thing. Yeah, I think that's a good answer. The other thing that people can do, if you're training your grip and you're using grippers, if you're doing something with a gripper that you feel doesn't give you enough resistance, you can easily do some kind of pre-exhaust. You can hang from a chinning bar immediately before doing your gripper work. And the length of time that you hang from the bar, depending on how strong your grip is you can easily pre-fatigue that to the point where the gripper is exactly where you want it. Another tip, I assume that this is something that you've done in the past, another tip would be adjusting not just the number of reps that you do, but the speed with which you do them, or how long you hold a gripper in a contracted position. I assume that would be a good way to mix things up.
Yeah, and as a matter of fact, for the last few weeks, well, a few months really, but really the last almost 15 years, I've been working on a hand gripper training course. It's been starting and stopping at various points, but I sit down and I've been writing out the various techniques and answering all the questions, this being one of them, but answering it in more detail. And actually, do I have it? Yeah. I've been sitting down, I take a stack of paper, actually, actual paper, actually, and sit down and write things by hand. So now I've got like 3 or 4 inches worth of loose pages that I've got to transcribe and go from there. But in working on this course, I've been asking myself a lot of questions. Well, why do I train the way I do? And what makes sense? What is the information that somebody would need to know to be able to train effectively on their end? And I just sat down and created a document of all the different types of workouts that I could think of. And it's actually not all that many. I mean, there's maybe half a dozen at most, only because there's what you're trying to accomplish with the grippers, and then the grippers being individual apparatus that you can't plate load. There's some limitations there, but that's not necessarily a bad thing since you've got a range to train with. So that's there's all kinds of different workouts and techniques that you can use, that being one of them, one of many. And hopefully, knock on wood, the course will be ready this calendar year. It's been a long time coming. So, but I think what a lot of people need is, in some cases, they need some reassurance, which is kind of what this question is. It's giving somebody some good advice, and then in other directions, there's giving people some ideas that they just weren't aware of. So in any event, I think there's people will be pleased when they finally get a chance to take a look at it.
Absolutely. Well, we'll be all of us, I'm sure, will be looking forward to that course. And as we go forward with future episodes of Dinosaur Radio, we're going to be checking with you to make sure that you keep on working and working to finish that course.
Absolutely. Otherwise, I think we handled that question pretty well. So we could probably sign off just to make this a real quick, short bite of an episode. But before we do, I pulled out a few vintage grippers that I happen to have in my collection. So this one came from England. You'll see they're pretty typical. Although this is interesting because it only has 2 winds on the spring. Most of the older grippers, not all of them, but most of the older grippers that you'll find have wooden handles. So in addition to the size of the spring, you've got to deal with the rotation of the handles, which is not something that you'll do with regular or more modern grippers. And then this one's pretty standard. You'll see this type pretty often. The handles rotate.
Mhm.
It has a keeper on the spring, which is something that you'll see on the older grippers. And then here's a unique one. I think this one was sold in Strength and Health.
Mhm.
I don't believe York made this one, but Whitley or one of those ended up making this one.
Yeah, has a nice sound to it.
Yeah, exactly. And then here's some more recent ones. I say recent because this is probably the 70s. Plastic handles, hollow, come in a set. This would be
Yeah.
probably fairly close to the type that the gentleman mentioned.
That's what I was thinking. That's probably exactly what Hugo has in his gym bag right now.
Yeah, so you typically find those in the sporting goods store, and then eventually, when you get tired, you upgrade to the Captains of Crush with the modern springs and aircraft grade aluminum, et cetera. So there's a little stroll down gripper history lane.
Hold up the older models compared to the Captain of Crush and let people just look at them and how, okay, size is about the same. The older ones are a little bigger.
Yeah, I think that they were probably a lot more because they're springs and then handles on top of that. They're probably more mass produced, quicker to get done and at the door. Have something else to send your paper route money away for.
Oh yeah, cool. Well, very good. So that'll wrap up episode number 11, or as we said, episode number 1 for January 20 or for 2022. And we'll be back soon. So long, everyone.